All righty, we're rolling. All right, well, hello everyone. This is a first time for us here. My name is Max. I'm here with Mike Roberts, my co-owner partner in Farmivore, and we want to start this video series just to tell you a little bit about who we are, what we're doing, what's going on with Farmivore, the story of Farmivore, anything that we think might be interesting for you. So this is one way we try to connect with you. One of the disadvantages of online selling is that we lack the in-person component, which is certainly something we value, and we're trying to close that gap right here.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike. I am a farmer with McGrath Family Farmers. So we're a collaborative of growers under legendary Oxnard farmer Phil McGrath. We're located in Camarillo. We collectively farm 35 acres, mostly row crops. Strawberries are our #1 crop. Hopefully you've enjoyed our strawberries this season. Lots of seasonal vegetables and flowers as well. And our real mission is to grow the next generation of regenerative farmers. So that's kind of our secret mission, is to train and support and put out into the community and into the world as many farmers as we can. And as Max said, I'm also very proud of to be a co-owner in Farmivore and hopefully to connect better with our Farmivore audience. We're very much farmers market farmers, and we love to be face-to-face with our customers.
And just to elaborate on my introduction, my name is Max Becher. I came to farming a little over 5 years ago. This was a passion of mine. Mike could have added that he also did not grow up as a farmer. He came to this as an adult. So that's something we have in common. We both mentored with other farmers, worked on their farms, kind of rose up through the ranks, as it were, and ultimately ended up running our own farms. And hopefully over this series, we'll tell you more of our story, how we came together, how Farmivore came together, and it'll all come out in the videos.
Okay, great. So I'm a curious type, and even though Max and I are co-owners of Farmivore, coming up on 2 years now, I believe, 2018, I think we ended up getting started together.
Yeah, going on 2 years now. That's right.
Yeah. But I'm curious about the beginnings of Farmivore. I was always impressed of what I had seen by 2016, 17 or so. But Max, can you talk about what led you to start Farmivore and what the early days were like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started selling vegetables before I actually started my farm. And so, I mean, in a way, you could say Farmivore, not in the current state, but as far as me selling vegetables online, that's been going on since October of 2013. And it was inspired primarily by Joel Salatin, eco-farmer extraordinaire in Virginia. Polyface Farm is his farm. If you're not familiar with it, I would definitely recommend looking it up. Joel is one of the most can-do, positive thinking, ecological farmers in the country. He's written multiple books. He's inspired scores, if not hundreds, of young farmers to start their own farms. And he's very entrepreneurial minded. And I was watching a YouTube video of him, back in my early 20s, and I wanted to get into this farming space. I wasn't exactly sure how. So I was watching YouTubes, I was reading Joel's books, other books, and he mentioned what he was referring to as electronic aggregators. And he said there were a few people he was aware of that were selling products from multiple farms online. And basically it was like an online farmer's market or an online grocery store from local farms. And that idea seemed so simple and so doable. And I mean, you can laugh now when I say it sounds simple, because it's actually very complex. But in essence, it's very simple. And what it started out was me volunteering on a farm in Ojai. I'm sure some of you are familiar with The Farmer and the Cook of Steve Sprinkle. He has a farm also in Ojai, and I volunteered there. And that was basically my first self-education in farming. And what I realized was there was a lot of waste on the farm in what we call #2 produce, which is bruised, blemished, somehow less than perfect for retail sales. And so a lot of this produce ended up going to waste. and I asked him if I could try selling it, and he said, sure, you take half, give me half. And so we had a deal, we had a handshake, and I turned to friends and family, and I was actually selling in bulk at the time, 20-pound cases of tomatoes for sauce, and 5 or 10-pound packs of peppers. And the understanding was you have to cut off a little bit, but the most of it was usable. And that's how it got started.
I'll give you where I was in 2013. So at that time, I was in my third season under Phil. So starting to get familiar with the patterns and the rhythms of the farm. And as it relates to Farmivore, we had what was a traditional CSA. So I in my third year, every year prior, I had experienced a CSA getting a little bit fewer members. Every year there was fewer members. So I believe the first year I started, we had 200 boxes a month, which seemed like quite a lot to me at the time. And Phil was a big advocate for the CSA model. Us farmers got all of the revenue up front. The customer invested in us, and then they received a share of the harvest. However, I could immediately see lots of holes in the game there, where we would be long or have an abundance of a certain crop, and it would go into the boxes weekly, and our emails would start to ping on, I don't know what I'm going to do with more beets or carrots or radishes, whatever we were long on. So at that time in my farming career, I was already starting to see some deficiencies in the existing sales channels of which was the traditional CSA. You get essentially what the farmer is long on.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the farm I was volunteering on was running a CSA, a very successful one. It's still operating to this day. And there were many things that attracted me to the CSA model, but I did see the same holes. I saw there tended not to be a lot of variety week to week, which for a certain type of customer, that's just fine. And I'm sure you'd agree, Mike. CSAs are a great model. They work for a certain kind of person. The CSA that I was working for certainly gave a very high value of crops, for the money that was spent. And so if you were into juicing or making salsa, or you wanted leafy greens every week in your diet and you didn't mind getting them, week to week, it was a great fit. But I also knew there were people who didn't want to commit to that much, and maybe they didn't want to commit to every week, or they wanted a greater variety of items. And I thought, you see this in a farmer's market setting where people can choose what they want. They have multiple farms to choose from, and farmers markets get a lot of business. So CSAs are good for some people, farmers markets for others. Then, this is coming up on, 7 years ago. I feel like we were just getting into the whole food delivery economy back then. It's much more robust now. But basically, I was just trying to take all the good things of these different models and put them together. Home delivery, online ordering, the CSA type experience where you're getting very directly from a farm with only my website in between, farmer's market type choice, and putting those all together.
Yeah, and I think you're right. There are some positive points for sure with the CSA, the traditional CSA model, and it is I would say for the right customer, it's a fit. However, I felt it was not going to reach other folks who are not such large supporters of local farming and eating, right off the farm, as fresh as could be, whatever was bountiful. And I really wanted to reach out to folks who are not accustomed to eating this way. And a couple of the things that the CSA model, the traditional CSA model, was lacking, in my experience, was it was very dogmatic about it had to come from one farm. At least we were. I don't know how it was for the farm you were on, but I wondered why. Why does it have to just come from us? Why couldn't we get it from your farmer mentor and other farmers in the area? At least the idea was, okay, you're investing in this one farm. And I wondered if all of us farmers got together, what might that look like? Just a little bit more variety in there. And we would do a little bit of it, but not not a lot, not as much as I thought we could have if we would have been able to collaborate and have a system to put it together. And to tie that back into Farmivore, Farmivore highlights the fact that we not only work with our home farm, which is McGrath Family Farmers today, but we're so excited to offer produce and goods from other farmer friends and producers in the region.
Yeah, and I would highlight that too because you mentioned the home farm at McGrath, which we definitely highlight, and
yeah,
I think this is a differentiating point for Farmivore versus other farm box services because, Mike, you're a farmer, I'm a farmer. I mean, originally, when I started selling other people's produce, I had my own future farm in mind. And, so once again, listening to Joel Salatin, he's very big on don't grow your crops before you have a way to sell them.
That's right.
Make sure you've got a sales plan. And so I thought, all right, well, I'll literally start selling before I grow. And I didn't lease the land that we started our farm on in Ojai for a full year, even a little over a year after doing those first deliveries. So I was selling and delivering for a full year, got our own farm. And then literally, I remember the very first crop I harvested, and it was spinach. And that spinach went into the online sales, and every bag got sold because I had built up those sales channels. So I mentioned that because I think that really differentiates Farmivore from other box services and really still puts us squarely in the CSA culture that we are both farmers now trying to collaborate with other farmers and just see what we can do together.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on what you're saying there. If I mentioned in the intro is our mission, our secret mission at McGrath Family Farmers is to grow new farmers. And I thought it was brilliant that you looked at your roster of crops that you were offering through, at the time was Ojai Farm Stand before it became Farmivore. And you probably worked back off of that and said, okay, I'm going to start growing some of these items and begin to supplement my own production into the rotation. And as we grow our young farmers there, who you know very well and who are a part of the Farmivore family, we're doing the same thing. We're looking at what are the products, what are our Farmivore customers really wanting, what are some new things they might want to try, and we work back off of that to create our planting plans. So I think it's like Salatin is saying, is if you can grow it, but very few, I think educational models talk about how are you going to offer that? How are you going to get that produce out into the community? And Farmivore is our favorite way to do it.
Yeah, and what's interesting about selling before you grow, at least in my case, something I learned was I was able to watch which products sold and which ones didn't.
Yeah.
And there's pros and cons to every model. And with the CSA, the beauty of it is that you have a committed customer base who is literally committed, often even prepaying to buy whatever that farmer grows. Yeah. And so he has the freedom to go out and plant what will grow well on his farm, in his climate, et cetera. And he knows he has a clientele ready to buy it. However, there's a downside to that too. And if you end up giving crops that your customers don't really like and don't really use on a regular basis, eventually you're going to lose them.
That's right.
So by watching, what you could call micro marketplace trends, you realize that certain staple items sell so much more than other, more niche specialty items. And so you can organize your farm accordingly. Things like carrots, lettuces, tomatoes, strawberries, these are extremely popular crops, baby greens. So I focused a lot on baby greens on my farm. Mike, I know you have too. It's an excellent crop for a small farmer. It's fast growing. Often they're cut and come again, so you can get multiple cuts from the same bed. Highly popular, high yield out of one bed. So there's, I'm getting off on a tangent here. We'll save that for the farm crop podcast.
Right.
But the point is that when you see what people like, you can target your growing in that direction.
Yeah, that's right. And what I think admire so much about the Farmivore model, and what I try to help continue on the path you set this work on, is I found myself in farming because I was an outsider coming into farming. I wasn't born into a farming family in the area I grew up, I had really high expectations of what was possible. And when we started our own farms under Phil's umbrella, I wanted to set up a farm that every big ambition you could think of as it relates to environment and the well-being of not only human life, but all life in and around that farm, and the resources, the economics and so forth to make this farming happen, and education to be able to constantly be learning and helping others, sharing what's working for us. I just baked all these things as much as I could into the Baby Root Farm, which is my section of McGrath Family Farm. And I noticed with Farmivore, we're kind of trying to do the same thing in the sense that we're really trying our best to offer, just to reach everyone in our community, to really folks have to say, I hate local food, I don't want it at all, to say no to Farmivore. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on that as far as Farmivore, what it does currently, maybe some of the dreams we have or things we're working towards? But I really think, you've done such a great job of setting up Farmivore to go in the direction of making local food available to everyone in our community and hopefully other communities beyond ours. But can you talk about wanting it all? Was that something you thought about in the early days, or was it, what was that like for you trying to build this model?
It's funny to remember what thoughts come in when, because as you know, so many thoughts come in all the time and the dreams keep flowing. A term that Mike and I like to throw around is thoughts are perishable commodities. Every idea is highly perishable, so you gotta jump on it when you have it. It's hard to know when these thoughts come in, but I know one that was with me throughout the whole process was the desire to make this convenient, because I knew that there are more people out there who want to buy local food. They know there are farmers in their communities, in their greater region. They don't want to ship food from other countries. That doesn't really thrill them. They would love to get it local if they could, but maybe they can't get to the farmer's market. It's a very narrow window of time, a few hours per week. They can't make the commitment to a CSA. So the goal from the beginning was to knock down all the barriers between people and local food.
Yeah.
So, what's a barrier? I can't get to the farmer's market. All right, we'll bring it to your door. I don't want all the items in a CSA. All right, we'll let you choose whatever you want. Oh, I can't do it weekly. All right, you can order whenever you want.
That's right.
Whatever those barriers are. And I mean, there are other barriers that we have big dreams to knock down. For example, we would love to do, not just offer produce, but actually, quote unquote, go into people's kitchens and help them plan meals. Maybe, just because the produce gets in the door doesn't mean that it, really works its way into your meal cycle. And, I'm sure there are plenty of times that produce is ordered and it's put in the fridge and not used, and then it's actually thrown away or composted. So, there are a lot of barriers. And if we really, I love the mantra, obstacles make us stronger. And if we're just willing to stare at them and, think about them for a while, usually we end up coming up with a solution that makes it better than it was in the first place.
I tell you, farming helps a lot with that skill set.
You wouldn't make it without that mindset.
That's right. Cool. Should we cut it there and move forward to for the next week, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Yeah, folks, this is very candid. This is just me and Mike on Zoom here, recording ourselves, trying to connect with you. Hope you enjoy this, and we'll be back next week with more.
Yeah, and any topics that anyone's interested in hearing about or us discussing, or we can elaborate more on, that would be great. We want to really connect with what's important to the Farmivore family out there.
Absolutely.
Thanks for supporting us. We want to support back as much as we can.
Yeah, the more we can make this a dialogue, the better. I mean, this is totally candid. Just an idea that we had. We wanted to connect with you. So if you do have ideas for this or what you'd like to see us talk about, definitely send that to support@farmivore.farm, and we'll be back for more. All right. Thanks, Mike. Chat next time.